what's up guys, it's Gage from ARG. Hey, what's up guys, it's Gage from ARG coming at you with a very special episode of a series I plan to start called Tech Thursday, where we talk about tech cards that may be good now or in the near future, distant future, and we just kind of apply them and see how they work. And we're going to be kicking it off relatively well with one of the most festive cards ever called Santa Claus. And coming right around the holidays here, I think it's just something interesting to talk about. Now, let's read over Santa Claus and exactly how good it works and what it does. Santa Claus is a level 6 Fiend Light, 1200 attack, 2500 defense. Its effect reads, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field in defense position by attributing one monster they control. If summoned this way, during the end phase of this turn, you can draw one card. It's important to note how this card is worded is the fact that when you do special summon it to your opponent's side of the field, they choose to activate it during the end phase to draw a card. That's their choice, not yours. It's a little awkward how it is, but nevertheless, it is something to talk about. So, Santa Claus. What makes it very interesting, besides being one of the most festive cards in the game, like I said before, happy holidays, it is very interesting to apply moving into the Breakers of Shadows format coming up. How so, you may ask? Well, when we look at cards coming out of Breakers of Shadows, some of the most threatening cards in the set are cards such as Traptrix Rafflesia or Cyber Dragon Infinity, big floodgate monsters that really provide an impact on the board and make a really unbreakable turn 1 board. That's essentially the game state, the idea of the game moving forward in Breakers of Shadows is working around these boards that your opponent just kind of spits out and says, hey, try your best. I know it's difficult, but try your best. So moving around these cards are going to be a little bit more of a priority in the game, and while there is a whole bunch of more ways to do it, there is one way that's kind of being a little overlooked if you ask me, and that's by attributing your opponent's monsters, which seems to be one of the most simplistic ways of outing anything your opponent can put out, literally. Like, looking at Santa Claus, being able to sack over a Cyber Dragon Infinity or sack over a Traptrix Rafflesia, getting around all that effect negation, getting around all that those trap cards and silly everything is relatively awesome without having to deal with any of it at all. Now, if we look at a card such as Raigeki or Dark Hole, which are other ways to kind of out those two kind of board states, they are not as actually good as just being able to tribute over your opponent's monsters, because your opponent has Cyber Dragon and Infinity, so they can just easily negate any of those big major board wipe cards. Like if you activate your Raigeki, Cyber Dragon Infinity just says, no. So you're going to be dedicating more resources to outing that board, even though you had that mass removal spell that just got thrown out the way. So it's not really as cost efficient as being able to use one card to tribute over your opponent's cards. It's essentially replacing their Cyber Dragon Infinity or their Traptrix Rafflesia with a vanilla monster that's not that great. In Santa Claus's case, it's kind of not as good due to the fact where you can draw one card, but just being festive right now, I thought it was kind of just to talk about. There is better alternatives, though, to think about, like a card such as Gamma Seal, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, I couldn't say that right. And what Gamma Seal will do is it'll just sack it over your opponent, and your opponent will have some trouble to get over that. Well, no, your opponent is now left with a 22 vanilla, because its Kaiju effect is relatively useless unless your opponent is playing Kaijus. Then you have no business playing this on their side of the board, because that's a stupid move. But the fact that this card kind of relies on Kaiju counters to do anything at all makes it really decent just to toss it on top of your opponent's board and say, hey, now you got a 22 Nilla that I can easily run over with pretty much anything in my deck. King of the Feral Limbs, Cyber Dragon Infinity, these can easily get over your Sea Turtle Kaiju that I just gave you. So that's a really interesting out for one-ofs. And then there's cards like Lava Golem too, which is kind of where both of these cards I'd like to say kind of took pieces of, because Lava Golem's really the OG tribute man, taking things from your opponent's board and saying, hey, now you got this piece of poop. So while Lava Golem is really the classic one of those, there are these two alternatives. And Santa Claus, I do realize it's not the best, but I felt like to kick off with this series with a relatively festive kind of starter, or just an idea to kind of encompass, and that's tributing your opponent's monsters, replacing them with something too good. While there is cards like, again, Raigeki, Dark Hole, Ghost Ogre, and Snow Rabbit, deal with it on your opponent's turn, there is a different kind of alternative if you're thinking outside of the box to get around Cyber Dragon Infinity and Traptrix Rafflesia, as these cards are definitely going to be very big problems. You really have to think out of the box. You have to think outside the button Taco Bell to really get around them. And I do believe tributing your opponent's monsters is probably actually one of the best ways to do it. Just something to look at. Now, let's apply it to right now, because that's Breakers of Shadows format. But looking at it right now, a card like Santa Claus, a card like Gamma Seal, these cards would definitely be very useful in the sense where playing against a deck like Cosmo. While it's not really great against the Pendulum matchup, as Floodgate monsters aren't really a thing, but against a deck like Cosmo, where your opponent will take out these big ships, Cosmo Dark Destroyer, Cosmo Forerunner, cards that can't be destroyed by card effects. Yeah, you can easily take them and then tribute over them, making the ship just go straight to the graveyard, no destruction effect, no nothing. So they're just left with that big monster chilling in the graveyard that they can't even get back with Cosmo Town because it's not banished. So that's a really interesting application of the tributing your opponent's monsters kind of phonetic that people aren't really looking at. And I do think it's something that's being a little bit overlooked. I do think it's something that has a lot of potential. So it is something to kind of check out and see, whether it works or not. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Gamma Seal and Santa Claus and Lava Golem and the whole kind of aspect of tributing your opponent's monsters, because I think it's something being overlooked. Again, I do realize Santa Claus isn't exactly the most relevant one out of the list here, but it is just something to talk about because it is a little bit festive. Letting your opponent draw a card is not too cool, but giving your opponent kind of the 25 to do nothing with is really rather interesting. And a level 6 doesn't really apply anywhere, as a level 6 is just a really awkward level to deal with. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think about the whole kind of idea of tributing your opponent's monsters or Santa Claus. And let me know what you think of this series I'm about to boot up. I'm really excited to do it. But yeah, if you guys want to buy or sell product, if you want to attend Hell events, if you want to read articles from the top players, AlterAutoGames.com is a place to go check out. Be sure to like our Facebook fan page, subscribe to our Twitch stream if you haven't already. But as always, I thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Gage from ARG, signing out. Happy holidays, guys.